All right, let's jump right in. We're always told that efficiency and optimization are the ultimate goals, right? But what if that constant drive to make everything perfect actually has a hidden downside? That's what we're going to dig into today. This really surprising and kind of invisible link between being super optimized and being incredibly fragile. This quote, this is really the heart of the whole thing, isn't it? It completely flips what you'd expect. It suggests that the systems that look the most slick, the most buttoned up, might actually be the ones closest to falling apart. So, why is that? Let's find out. Okay, so to really get our heads around this idea, we've got to start with why the just-in-time model, you've probably heard of it as JIT, became so popular in the first place. I mean, why did this idea basically take over the world? Well, the logic behind it is really, really appealing. I mean, the benefits are just so clear. First off, JIT slashes waste. You've got less material, you need less storage, less of everything just sitting around. And that, of course, directly pumps up your cash flow because your money isn't just stuck in a warehouse. But it's not just about the money. It also makes everything feel cleaner, tidier. Your whole operation becomes so much easier to manage. On paper, it really does look like the perfect system. And right there, that's the catch. The problem isn't JIT itself, not at all. When conditions are stable, when the world is predictable, and everything's just humming along, it is an absolute masterpiece of efficiency. But you see, everything, and I mean everything, hangs on that one little word, stability. All right, so if it's all built on stability, what's that stability built on? Every efficient system like this has a foundation. And for just-in-time, it's this single, massive, and honestly, often totally invisible assumption. That assumption is something we can call continuity. It's this quiet, built-in belief that everything is just gonna keep working. That suppliers will always deliver on time, that trucks and ships will keep moving, and that if something does go wrong, hey, it'll be a quick fix. It's basically a bet on a perfectly smooth world. And this right here is the central tension of this whole thing. Look, as long as that assumption of continuity holds up, efficiency looks like pure genius. It feels like the smartest possible way to run things. But the second that assumption breaks, a port closes, a supplier goes down, that same efficiency, the very thing that got rid of all the slack, it quietly morphs into extreme fragility. So what does this actually look like when it happens? Let's walk through a little thought experiment from the source material. It's a great illustration of how this risk can hide in plain sight. Okay, so I want you to picture a tiny little component in a big system. Maybe it's a specific kind of plastic pellet or a particular microchip. Heck, it could even be a special kind of screw. It's super cheap, and historically, it's always been available. It's such a tiny part of the final cost that it's basically a rounding error. You'd never build a strategy around it because, well, why would you? And this is the crucial point. The specific material, whether it's silver or plastic or whatever, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is the pattern. It's the pattern of being dependent on something you've optimized so much that you've forgotten it's even there. The pattern of just assuming something will always be on the shelf, right up until the day it isn't. This leads to a really powerful way of rethinking these ideas. This isn't some fight between lean thinking and resilience. The whole point of lean at its best was never about removing awareness. It was about removing waste. And resilience, it was never meant to be the enemy of efficiency. It's the essential counterbalance that keeps the whole system from falling over. Okay, so after all that, where do we land? Well, the goal here isn't to hand you a neat little checklist or a simple answer. It's really about shifting our focus, moving away from trying to find answers, and instead getting better at asking the right questions. Questions that are worth holding onto as we think about all these trade-offs we're making all the time. And just to be crystal clear here, this is not about saying we should just abandon just-in-time or efficiency. Not at all. It's a call to notice. It's about developing an awareness, a way of seeing where our obsession with optimization has stripped away our margin for error, our recovery time, our plan B, and then asking ourselves, was that trade-off something we chose consciously? So let's start with the first question to really sit with. What's that small, cheap, totally overlooked input in your world? You know the one. The thing that, if it was suddenly delayed for a couple of weeks instead of a couple of days, would bring everything to a grinding halt. And that naturally leads to the next question. In that big push to be lean and mean, where have the buffers, the safety nets, been completely removed without any kind of backup plan in place? And that brings us to our last question, and maybe the one that's the most challenging. A sudden crisis is obvious, it's easy to spot. But what if the stable world your system depends on started to change? Really slowly, kind of subtly. Would you even notice it early on? Or would the first sign of trouble be the exact moment the whole thing breaks?